Figure 18 shows an investigation into the growth of plant shoots. Experiment 1. The tip of a shoot was removed from the plant. There was no growth in the shoot after 3 days. The tip of the shoot was cut off and then placed back onto the shoot. The shoot had grown 6 mm after 3 days. Give one variable that must have been controlled for the plant shoot to grow vertically, as shown in experiment 2. So if you remember that plant growth is caused by light affecting auxins produced at the tip, and the direction in which the light shines will affect auxins and the direction in which the auxins migrate down the stem, causing cell elongation and ultimately growth. So it must have light shining in the same direction, otherwise they will affect how they grow. In fact, light should shine from above ideally if you want them to grow vertically, because that way the impact on auxins is the same on both sides. State one conclusion that could be made based on the 2 experiments. So here, removing the tip stops growth, adding the tip back on reinitiates growth. So the one conclusion you'd say is the tip, and it's only a state question, so it's very simple, the tip controls growth. Which plant hormone causes growth in the plant shoot? Is it, well, you just need to go through them. Auxins are to do with plant growth, just so you know what the others are for. Ethene is for fruit ripening. Gibberellins are for seed germination. And chlorophyll is not a hormone, it's a pigment, which is required for photosynthesis. So it's auxins. Explain one way that this investigation should be improved. So look out for this. This is an obvious way to improve any experiment. You do a number of repeats, and repeats are important. You have to explain why. So what we're doing is repeat, but why do it? Because repeats allow you to identify outliers or anomalies, which can then be discounted, and then you can work out a more accurate average. You see, imagine you did one test and that was your answer, not knowing that if you'd done it few more times you realise that's more accurate, that's really where the answer lies. So you would publish this and it'd be completely wrong or misleading. So you do a number of tests to find a reliable average. So how do you say that? You say repeat with more plant shoots to calculate the mean, or you could say, so either to work out an average or to identify anomalies. Another thing you could do is set up a control where there's no tip to make the results comparable. So to prove that without a tip, there is no growth. Okay, last question. Marram grass, I remember studying this on sand dunes, my A-level field trip. Marram grass is a plant that grows on exposed areas of sand dunes. Figure 19 shows marram grass growing and a cross-section through a leaf of marram grass. So you can see that marram grass is really, really well adapted to surviving very brutal conditions. And you can see here it's got a very rolled leaf, so that stops or reduces evaporation, because if you're getting battered by wind all the time, that could dry out the leaf very quickly. It has a thick waxy cuticle. Wax prevents water loss, so it's all about preventing water loss. Trapped air in the centre, so this keeps like moist air near here, so there's less of a sort of gradient in humidity. So basically, if there's water here and water inside the plant, as opposed to dry air here, you'll get less water loss through evaporation due to a concentration gradient. So there's a shallower concentration gradient. And hairs on the lower surface also trap moisture, which sort of, again, reduces that concentration gradient, makes it shallow, so less water evaporates. So very, very kitted out to conserve water. Explain how marram grass is adapted to survive the hot, windy and dry conditions of a sand dune. So you can relate to this as well. Windy as well, if you look down here, it's got very, very deep roots, which are much deeper than normal plants, and also they grow laterally, so they sort of anchor the plant very well and make it very resistant against the wind. So it's flexible, it doesn't break in windy conditions, it has a good root structure, prevents wind uprooting the plant, and long thin leaves reducing wind damage. It's important that this is an explain question, so I'm saying what the features are and giving and explaining what they do. So that's how you get the marks. The leaf structure, rolled to trap air inside, thick waxy cuticle prevents water loss by evaporation, no stomata on upper surface to prevent water loss, Stomata in sunken pits to retain moist air and reduce water loss. Hairs reduce air movement as well and also trap moisture. But if you want to pause and have a look, this image sort of summarizes it quite well.